You might have some old podcast episodes that really are just kind of outdated. Should you delete those episodes? We're going to tackle that coming up next. Hey there, podcaster. My name is the Shannon, radio broadcaster, podcaster, and podcast producer. And today's video is brought to you by my condensed version of the 6 clever ways you can monetize a podcast. I don't know. Can you see that right there? It's kind of weird. I can't see the camera itself. So basically what this is not the condensed version. This is actually the expanded version. But what I encourage you to do is head on over to my website and download this condensed version itself, because once I finish the expanded version, I'm going to give it to everyone completely for free. All right. You can go ahead and download that guide by clicking up here on the card on the screen or down in the description below. I'll go ahead and leave a link for you so that you can go ahead and check out. But get in on this expanded guide. This is everything that I know from the radio industry, and of course, all my years of playing on the internet. And I put it into an expanded version ebook right here for you to go ahead and check out. And I'm always updating this particular guide so that you can monetize and capitalize on the opportunities that you see with your own podcast. So today we're talking about whether or not podcasters should be deleting old episodes. And this is a topic that has come up based around some activity that is happening on my YouTube channel. Now, I have a particular YouTube video that is up right now. For those of you who have been around with me for a while, you know that I really kind of have a love-hate relationship with Anchor FM. And now I don't hate the guys over there at Anchor FM, but I don't really buy into the service that they are providing if you're looking to grow your podcast into something bigger. Now, they are giving a lot of effort to their particular platform, and it will work for some people. It just doesn't mean that it works for me. And that's how you learn what works for you and what doesn't work for you. So what happened is that this particular video is all based around something that I had posted last summer in 2018, and it had to deal with the terms of service and whether or not Anchor owned your content or not. And I'm going to go ahead and leave a link for that video down in the description below if you want to go watch that. All right. So what I'm seeing in that video is that there are people saying, this video is outdated. They updated their terms of service, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, those people who are commenting and saying, oh, this video is outdated, they're clearly not reading the description that I have created. They're clearly not looking at the pinned comment that I have placed, and they may say you should just delete this video because it's very misleading. And part of me says, yeah, I get that. It seems true because there have been changes to Anchor since the time that I recorded that video, but I won't delete it. And there's a very good reason why I won't delete this. And this applies specifically to podcasters as well, and any type of content creator that may be writing content or recording content. It doesn't matter. All right. So the reason why I don't delete this particular video is because it's one of my more popular videos that's on the rise right now. People are very curious to learn about Anchor FM and whether or not the service is well worth its time to be on there. Now, again, I will tell you this, it's going to be up to you to use that service. But the idea is that video will not be deleted. And I won't be deleting it anytime. And I know there will be people that'll be like, oh, well, you're making a big mistake. Not if you are thinking like Google, not if you're thinking like iTunes, not if you're thinking like an algorithm. That's what I'm talking about. You as a podcast creator, you need to be thinking like the algorithm at times, because what happens is that you're going to have a podcast episode that is going to be contentious. It is going to be controversial, and it is going to drive popularity back to your podcast itself. And what happens is that popularity now allows the consumer to go back and research more. Now, will every consumer go and really research all of your other podcasts? Not every one of them, but the ones who are very interested in your opinion and your personality and the information that you're sharing, whether it be laughs, entertainment, whatever it may be, they may want to go in and discover more if you're giving the right calls to action. So I would recommend that you don't delete old episodes that may be out of date or contentious or controversial, because they will drive traffic to the other ones. You might see this in your podcasting statistics as your popular podcasts that are being downloaded. All right. Now, if you're seeing this, it's likely because you have done your efforts to not only put it on the podcatchers themselves, like Google and Stitcher, on Apple iTunes and Stitcher and Google Play Podcasts and wherever, but you might be doing yourself the effort of putting it on your blog and having it discovered in inside of a Google search. You still don't want to delete this because of certain reasons. All right. Now let's consider this. We have to consider the popularity of the podcast. All right. Is it well liked? Is it controversial? Is it contentious? What is it? All right. And do you want to really delete it? I would just say no. Don't delete the episode itself. Instead, what I would do is I would go in and I would update it. And we'll talk about that here very shortly. Another thing that you need to consider when people are discovering and stumbling upon this episode that might be outdated, controversial, or contentious, you have to consider our listener or consumers' researching habits. All right. If a consumer is looking for the information and they stumble upon your podcast and it has certain information that might be useful to them, more than likely, when they're in that research phase, they're going to dive deeper if you give them calls to action, or if you provide those calls to action on your website to allow them to listen to another podcast episode, or direct them to subscribe onto iTunes or Google Podcasts or wherever. You want to consider their research habits and consider what you can get them to do to become a fan. Discovery of your podcast is all based around the visibility and the traction of that particular episode. So if they're coming across that episode, remember, you want to try to lead them into either getting a subscription or maybe listening to some more on your website and maybe getting on an email list or whatever you want them to do. That is the idea. Smart consumers will always dive deeper. Just remember that. They will always dive deeper. The people who are highly critical of your content and they say it's not good and I'm doing it this way and I'm doing it that way, those are people who, yeah, great. I'm glad that you're doing it that way. I'm helping the other 95% of people who don't understand what's going on, or I'm entertaining the other 95% of people who like my type of humor. You have to remember that. So don't be deleting these episodes, but you could redirect them to a new and updated episode. So let's say that you have that episode and you have not gone in and you have not updated the show notes in 2 years, all right? And it's old and it's not as evergreen as it used to be. What you want to do is you want to go in and you'll want to append any type of text into the show notes that go into the show notes that you will see in iTunes, and of course the show notes that you're providing on top of your blog that you're putting inside of your blog. If you don't know the reasons why I put show notes inside of blogs, I have a video down in the description that you might want to go ahead and check out that talks all about why we transcribe show notes, or why we even make show notes, so you can get discovered. So that'll be down in the description below. But what you'll want to do is you'll want to update those show notes and descriptions if the content has been updated. And what you'll want to do is you want to keep the original text that you wrote, because that text might be the perfect combination of search engine optimization, or SEO, that the Google algorithm or the iTunes algorithm is catching onto, and it is helping drive traffic. So you don't want to change the title too much. You don't even want to change the title. Just keep the title and keep the text, but you can append to the descriptions so that people can understand and know what is going on. All right. This will help you drive traffic to the updated episode if you need to do that. All right. Now, if you have a title that maybe might be a little more controversial, what you want to do is in the description, you want to put any type of phrasing or wording that will help mitigate any, I guess, controversy itself. You're going to get people, I tell you this right now, you're going to get people who don't read anything and they just watch the video, or you get the people who do read things and then they follow the trail or the breadcrumbs that you're leaving for them. So that's what you want to do. Then what you want to do is you want to go ahead and update the audio itself inside of Libsyn or Blubrry. I don't believe that you can do this on any other platform like Anchor or Spreaker or anything like that. This is why I love using Libsyn or Blubrry, is because you can replace old audio. If you make a mistake in your podcast, you can replace that mistake with a new piece of audio. Now, there are maybe, I don't know if you call them rules, but there are stipulations that come with replacing audio. I'm going to go ahead and leave links for the individual platforms themselves for Libsyn and Blubrry that discuss this long tail content that you will be creating, and how replacing an old piece of audio might affect maybe your storage limits, or it might affect the SEO itself if you're changing things. I'll go ahead and leave that, because that's all. I'll leave that in the description down below, because that's all going to describe it for you the best, because they know the best over there. A couple of quick tips that you might want to incorporate whenever you're making these updates is that if you're using a WordPress site, I recommend that you download the Pretty Link plugin. And then, of course, in the description of your update, you provide a link to the updated episode with that particular Pretty Link. So that's what I would recommend that you do. If you don't have a WordPress site, use something like Rebrand Brandly or Bitly, anything that will redirect them to the updated episode, or blog post that will help drive some traffic to the brand new episode so that you can get more traction to that particular podcast episode. Also, do yourself the favor of putting that particular link in the comment section of your blog or on a Facebook post or even on your Twitter feed, and pin it. Make sure that you pin it and let people know that this has been updated, and put it everywhere that you need so that people can understand that the content that you have may have an update, that you need to go back and you need to go look at the update itself. That will really help them out a lot. So tell me, do you have old episodes that you're thinking of maybe repurposing, or maybe that need to be updated? And have you gone in and have you updated? Have these tips been helpful for you? Leave a comment down in the section below and let me know, and I'd really appreciate it. Of course, you know me, comments really mean a lot to me, so I will get back to you as soon as I humanly possibly can, especially after finishing this particular book that I'm creating for people who are looking to monetize their podcast. And of course, if you're getting into the podcasting game for the very first time and you don't know what you need to get for your podcast equipment, I have an essential quick start guide for equipment that you can go ahead and grab. I'm going to go ahead and leave a card right up here and a link down in the description below that you can go ahead and check out and download. It has helped out tons of people, and people have reached out to me and said, thank you so much for this guide. It means a lot to me. It has helped me get my podcast started off on the right foot, and as I continue to grow it, they say the equipment that you recommend is perfect. So I guess I'm giving a testimonial for myself from other people, but this is the feedback that I am getting, and I appreciate people checking out this channel as I continue to try and help you develop and grow your own podcast. In the meantime, thank you guys so much. At the end screen, I'm going to go ahead and leave a playlist that you might check out for those beginning podcasters that will show you the basic podcast setup and every little step along the way that gets me started with my podcast. In the meantime, have a great one. We'll see you next week.